The Division 2 open beta took place this weekend from Friday, March the 1st to Monday, March the 4th on PS4, PC and Xbox One. The game is out on March the 15th. It's a follow-up to 2015's The Division, a game that didn't really bolt out the gate, but after some kind of tension managed to balance itself out quite nicely. If you've played it, you've probably got some opinions on the matter. Here to share theirs, Mike Williams and Liam McKelvey.
Hello.
Hello.
With the assistance of me, Jake Lukowski. So boys, you've both played the beta a lot more than me. What did you think of it, first of all? Just get it out of the way.
First of all, I played loads of the Division 1 and I really liked it. The first thing that struck me with Division 2 was I forgot what it's like to mow down, shoot on sight basically, anyone who has a red mark on top of their head.
Sorry, you forgot the joys of, or just forgot the...
It felt a bit wrong to be... This is just like a group of lads
Killer
walking
with a
down the
conscience.
street. Yeah, a group of lads walking down the street. That, they might have a bat between them. And then I've got military grade assault rifles, scopes and that. And I just gun them down. And I kind of... It's this Judge Dredd sort of thing going on. So that was the first thing I remembered. I was like, oh yeah,
it's good to be back.
Yes,
That's what it was like.
Yeah, it's a weird experience. I mean, what did you reckon, Liam? What was your first impression?
I quite liked what I played with. It felt very familiar to the Division 1, which I also played quite a bit of.
Yeah, very close, I thought.
Very close, and to the point where I've seen people online call this Division 1.5.
Oh, that's so funny. I've
very
never heard anyone do that for any other games before.
Implying it's not a big jump between games.
Exactly, yeah.
So I guess I thought when you said it was familiar, I thought you were going to talk about when you played the private beta for this, which is pretty much the exact same.
I got into the private beta, and content-wise, it was pretty much exactly the same. There was a lot of bug fixes and stuff that I saw, because they posted a change list between this and the private beta, and there was a lot of little bugs and stuff sorted out, but content-wise, it was pretty much the same.
The premise of the Division is sort of every player is like a sort of sleeper agent sort of thing, that when there's a national emergency they kind of get activated and then they're ready to go, they're ready to rock. Exactly. So they're kind of like this weird sort of paramilitary sort of organisation that just wakes up whenever there's a zombie apocalypse or something, and they're ready to roll, and then that's what every player is, and then it's about sort of securing law and order on the streets of it. Well, it was New York in the first one, and it's Washington DC in the second.
Very much Washington DC, so it does look dead different compared to New York is a lot of sort of huge buildings that just sort of lumber over you, and it's a lot of shadow, shades, snow and stuff like that. I mean, anyone who looks at a single screenshot of this is going to be able to notice one difference, and it's that the sun's out. So have you noticed any other differences to the map? Is it more open this time? Because
there's more. You were very penned in New York, and that I absolutely loved it. I loved New York was the star of the show in the first one for me, above the gameplay and everything. I just thought it was amazing. They nailed the scale properly, and one thing that's carried over definitely is the sort of level of detail of just rubble and posters and little animals scurrying around, and there's just an immense amount of detail in every square kilometre sort of thing. There's loads of shit everywhere, literally rubbish and stuff like that. And
trash.
Trash. And
I think they've improved the variety of animals as well, right?
Definitely.
You used to see the odd dog here or there in Division 1, but you got deers now, you got wolves.
There's rats scurrying around everywhere.
For some reason, it does seem more rural, even though obviously it's based just outside the White House.
Yeah.
It seems a lot more greenery.
It's more overgrown, and it's more... I think where in New York it was kind of... It felt like it had just it was happening. The apocalypse was happening. It was like this sort of. It was related to, I think it was cash or something in the money in the law. So there was a big Black Friday sale.
Yeah.
And then this
was a viral outbreak.
Yeah, spread through money. And we and so it's like this Tom Clancy name attached to it, and that's sort of why, because it was just sort of semi-believable attempt at trying to explain how an apocalypse happens.
Yeah, something that we touch every single day.
Yeah, cash.
Something that makes the world go around.
Yeah.
All of a sudden stops the world revolving.
Yeah.
Cash. Yeah. Very Clancy.
There is a lot of that in the opening cutscene to this beta.
Yeah.
We took free Wi-Fi for granted.
That line is so bad.
It starts off with a close-up of a cappuccino, which slowly
we
zooms out.
Free coffee.
Yeah. But then it says, and when the coffee and the Wi-Fi dried up, then we survived.
Yeah, from living to survive. It's a very slick intro cinematic.
Yeah,
it kind of sets the thing, like you were saying about the sleeper agent thing. The general premise is that humanity's just trying to exist without Wi-Fi or coffee or whatever. And then there's these like group of like no good bandit guys, and they're called hyenas, and they're just trying to mess things up for everybody really in kind of the road Mad Max fashion. And then you play as these blokes with guns that go around stopping them.
In terms of nuts and bolts and the actual gameplay and stuff, it's I guess this is what a lot of people will want to know if they haven't played it already. The bullet sponginess is still a little bit of a mental thing that you've got to jump over, because you still it does
by
take...
mental you mean in your brain, not like it's a crazy thing you've got to
I don't mean crazy. I mean like you have to process. It takes you a little while. It took me a little while to acclimatise to the fact that shooting someone a lot with an assault rifle removes some of their health bar rather than kills them. So
they're only wearing like a hoodie and a baseball cap,
or a vest top and a lot and they're just not So you've got to change mental gears to get into that, and then but it is better than it was in the first one.
There's a bit of suspension of disbelief involved.
100%. Yeah, it's a bit better than the first one for that. The bosses kind of work a lot better for me in terms of there's a lot of like yellow bar, purple bar, super boss sort of enemies.
Right.
It does seem a little bit more interesting now, where if you focus fire on the helmet or the sort of flamethrower tank on their back or something, you can focus fire on it, and it really feels like you're chipping away at their armor rather than removing the bar of the armor.
That's how they've countered the bullet sponge thing this time round. So the big enemies, instead of just giving them like a massive health bar
or another armor bar,
they just have like an armor thing that you've got to break down. But once you've broken that down, you can take them out as quickly as any normal unarmored enemy. So you can work on sort of headshots and shit like that. And they so far anyway, from what I've played, it doesn't feel like quite as bad as it did in the first division.
Right. So there's like quite a few games that have come out really quite close to each other at the moment that are either post-apocalyptic, like Far Cry New Dawn and Metro Exodus, or they're games that are shared shooters that are kind of competing with this sort of designated friend time that you've got. Apex Legends is out, Anthem is also out. People are still playing Destiny 2. They've just made some season of the Joker or whatever that's called news. So what do you think the Division's going to do differently, or is it not going to do anything differently at all? Why would you get this rather than Anthem, say?
I think it sort of knows what it is a bit better than... I think Anthem's a bit of a identity crisis in part. Like, it doesn't quite know exactly what its sort of part of the market is sort of cornering. Whereas this, if you want a semi-militaristic sort of thing where putting attachments on your weapons and shit, and all the weapons are like things that you've heard of, like AK-47s and stuff like that, and and then coupled down with this sort of fantasy of being any regular guy or girl who's just sort of suddenly becomes this like post-apocalyptic warrior of hell who's like taking down bad guys, shooting on sight again. Let me remind you
shooting down like low-level thugs.
On sight. There's no trial here. There's no criminal justice system anymore. Just shoot them. So if that appeals to you, it does know what it's doing a bit better, I think. And if you enjoyed the Division 1 a lot and you just want more of it, absolutely. But I don't know, is it going to be any sort of seismic shockwave of thingy? I don't think so.
I think like the Division 1 is probably going to end up building on itself and becoming a great game rather than starting as a great game. At least that's how the advertising seems to be. What I mean by that is that they've already put out an extensive video detailing not only what you'll be buying on the day it comes out.
Weirdly speaking, in past tense, if I've got that right, the launch was just the start. Well, the game is not out yet.
And also what's coming, but not just like as a little JPEG, but also as a video. So there's new Strongholds right after launch. There's an 8-player raid very shortly after, and then they're also launching what they're calling post-launch episodes. You'll like this. The first one's called DC Outskirts Expeditions. So not sure if that's really par for the course of a Ubisoft game as of late or not. I don't know if it's more specific to the Division, but it seems to be that they're not only telling you what you're buying today, but what your purchase is going to bloom into. I guess you guys both saw the Division at its sort of final form rather than its starting form. Do you feel pretty confident it's going to be able to live up to that sort of same thing again? That even if it doesn't manage to bolt out the gate, it will. One
thing I think you can absolutely put your money on is that Ubisoft will stay with this. They will keep working on it, because with Anthem, that's the big thing that personally I've got absolutely no evidence for this whatsoever. I just personally have a slight reservation as to whether or not EA will still be there in a year's time if the sales numbers aren't good enough and whatever. Whereas I think that no matter what really the sales numbers for the Division are, Ubisoft's mentality is to keep trying to build it. I don't know. What about you, Liam? What do you think?
From what I played of the beta, I think it's got a good place to start from, because obviously they've had the Division 1 and that received a lot of updates, a lot of reworking along the way, and it ended up being quite a solid game towards the end. And so with Division 2 pretty much just building off of that, I think they've got quite a solid base to start from with Division 2. And then
the White House.
The White House, yeah, that is your base.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Sorry, Liam.
It's alright. Foundation, pretty much, is what I mean. I think with Division 2 has a strong foundation to start from.
You can say basement, it's fine.
Don't, see what I mean? Yeah.
Whereas, you know, like Anthem was a bit of an unknown entity, really.
Yeah.
Whereas Division's got, like, background to it.
Yeah.
It's got a dev team who, they've done this before.
Yeah.
They know what not to do. They know how to keep players coming back.
Yeah.
I think it's got a good shot, Division 2 at launch.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. You know, as like I said earlier, as a fan of the Division, I have to say this isn't particularly exciting to me, but I don't think that's the Division's fault. I just think that I'm in a different place to where I was in 2015, where I hadn't really had this kind of thing before, whereas now there's just fucking too much of it. You know, all the core ingredients are really similar, you know, in terms of, like, you have a little hub that is safe, and then you leave that safe hub where there's no enemies to a big open area where there are lots of enemies, and then there's missions and side missions and things to collect within that big open space. You can bring players in to help you. There's character customization is a big focus, changing your outfit, changing the colours of what you're wearing and stuff.
Yeah.
And all the ingredients, and obviously a very thorough sort of long form loot system where you're constantly just striving to get new stuff and that is the same for Anthem and Destiny and Destiny 1 and the Division 1, and the pattern is the same. If you want all that and it's already been satisfied by another game, you know, Division has to do something interesting to pull you away, or you have to just prefer the setting or something like that.
Yeah.
I think the thing they do better than any of the others is just raw attention to detail in the environments. And, you know, you mentioned the White House and stuff earlier. It's amazing. It's really good. You're walking around it and there's just conversations going on everywhere. There's NPCs everywhere just doing stuff. And the big difference that I've noticed between the Division 2 and Division 1 is it tells you what the NPCs are doing. So they're saying, they're bringing back water, or they're bringing back food, or what, you know, whatever. You get a really good sense of being a part of something, which I think is better than Anthem and Destiny. Destiny, just, you feel like a lone sort of super space marine sort of thing that you sometimes are joined by your friends. In this, you feel a bit more like part of an operation. Which is pretty cool.
Well, if you want to be part of this operation, you don't have to wait long. Next Friday, the 15th of March, is the release date. 3 days early, so the 12th of March, if you get this, like, the Ultimate Edition. I think it's actually called the Ultimate Edition as well, but it'll be out on PC, PS4 and Xbox One. That's the Division 2. Nice one, boys. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Cheers.